Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. I am actually on location, so I don't look quite as sharp. My microphone's not quite as good, but you're going to have to deal with it because we love talking Dodgers baseball, and we are excited to talk to you. So, Austin Brubaker, great to see you, my man.
Casey, it's always a pleasure to be able to interact with you. Excited to talk a little bit of Dodgers baseball, a little bit of abbreviated session, at least for me today, because I got coming up I got to leave in about 25 minutes to head to a City League softball game. So hopefully we can turn it around. We're on a little bit of a skid right now. Lost 2 straight in the softball league. But excited to talk some Dodgers baseball because the Dodgers at least were able to win last night and they get the Colorado Rockies tonight. So excited to be able to interact with you, Casey, and excited to be able to interact with the people here, Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on a remote location, I'm on my laptop instead of my studio back home. I'm on a portable microphone. I can't hear anything other than Austin, so it's going to be interesting. Okay, so we had a really nice night last night. I've been bitching and moaning to no end about this offense being, kind of scoring early and then just in the innings where they don't score, they just are complete duds. Like you strike out 3 times, you're not putting any pressure on the offense. So from an analytical perspective, Austin, break this offense down and let us know what has to happen for this Dodgers team offensively to become the best team in the National League.
Okay, that's a really good question because for the first 3 months of the season, that's exactly what the Dodgers offense was. It was the best offense in the National League, and not just the best offense in the National League, but best offense in the game of baseball. Recently, they've been hitting a little bit more of their skid. Some of the players have been striking out a little bit more than what they are anticipated to striking out at. And there just has been a lot of struggle. And I think it starts from a bottom-up plate approach type of discipline that the team has to go ahead and be able to get. Obviously, they're missing a couple of their key pieces. Max Muncy being out is going to hurt because that means that they're going to be playing and stretching some guys into different roles that they perhaps aren't as anticipated. But there also is a couple of good signs. I think Mookie Betts being able to get some hits as of late and starting to at least seem to be a little bit more comfortable at the plate, I think is going to really help anchor this club and help it become a much better offense. And even just getting some additional contributions from some of the players in the outfield. The outfield actually, as of late, has been struggling quite a bit. You've seen Michael Conforto struggle a little bit this month. Andy Pages has taken a little bit of a step back during just over the past month or so. Still a solid player overall. But Alex Call being able to step up during the game yesterday. If he's interesting because it's a little bit more limited with his major league experience, a couple of years, but even during some of those years is a little bit more limited experience. But his plate discipline type of approach, having some games where you can help build up his confidence and be a competent player out there, I think is going to really help potentially lengthen this lineup a little bit because it's surrounded by a lot of players, a couple of players that are a little bit younger, having Alex Freeland go through a lot of the learning curves, which there's a lot of learning curves that team has to go over once a player gets entered into the big league lineup. So I think with this offense, it's one of those things where I still have a lot of trust with many of the players in this lineup. Shohei Ohtani obviously have a ton of trust in. Freddie Freeman has a long track record. Will Smith has been really, really good, really solid this season. And then it becomes with a couple of other players that you want to see have a little bit more success. And really, if they're able to have some success, I'm talking about players like a Teoscar Hernandez and with a Mookie Betts. And if Andy Pages can provide a little bit of consistency, I think that's just going to lengthen this lineup all the more better. So it's just about going out there, having good fundamental plate appearances, good approach on there, lengthen the starting pitcher out, which I think is one of the benefits of having some of the guys on this roster, like an Alex Call and Alex Freeland, that really work plate appearances, doing that to help set up the rest of the offense. I think this offense is going to be fine. I think the starting pitching is going to be fine. And I think this team is going to go out there and put really competitive battles out there. It's been a lot of hit or miss recently. Luckily, they hit against the Padres. Hopefully, they continue to hit against the Colorado Rockies in 2 games over the next 2 days that they should win.
So you got Gordon going tonight for the Rockies, okay? Right-handed pitcher. So Michael Conforto gets the start in left field after Alex Call almost hits for the cycle last night. Too much analytics? You're the statistician.
A little bit. I kind of wish I kind of like those avenues where, especially after a big night with Alex Hall, you reward him for that specific journey that he was able to go on during the success that he had during the game yesterday. I would anticipate probably at some point during the game, especially if there's a left-handed pitcher going up against Michael Conforto, that probably Alex Hall gets pinch hit for or gets a pinch hit at bat, which could be playing a little bit more into the analytics. It's with the Dodgers, and one of the bets that they decided to make, and perhaps it was not a good bet based on what we've seen with Michael Conforto, they decided to go out and get an Alex Hall. Now, the profile of Alex Hall is more of a fourth outfielder type, which means that they're still expecting some contributions from a Michael Conforto to go ahead and get rolling. It has been a rough August for Michael Conforto, although he did have some success during the series against the San Diego Padres. Got to give him credit for that. With the team where they are at and with the buildup of where their roster is, they still are anticipating and expecting some sort of success from Michael Conforto and to help make this offense as good as it possibly can. Now, it becomes very difficult because of the long track record of this season to see any of that success for Michael Conforto, but they still want to give him plate appearances to see if he can find what he found towards the end of July when he went on that little bit of extended run. But with Alex Hall, obviously you would have liked to see him go out there and get some experience, especially after having some success, to build off of that. But Dave Roberts kind of knows what he's doing, and I trust Dave Roberts to do his job and think about the long, big-term picture of where things are at for the Dodgers.
What's the best stat you've been able to find, Austin, that shows the trade-off between offense and defense? So, like, how much defense that you lose with Michael Conforto makes a good trade that you get back in offense if Conforto is a better offensive player than Alex Call, which he hasn't been. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that the idea here is Michael Conforto is the offensive guy, Alex Call is the defensive guy. So what stat would be the best one to show what actually is the best balance? Because if Michael Conforto makes your defense not nearly as good, then how much better would his offense have to be to make up for that?
Yes, it's a good question, and it's difficult because these things, it's comparing two separate things and Absolutely. Trying to be able to do that. And so there's a couple of different measures that you can go off of. If you wanted to go strictly based off of WAR, you could do that. What makes that complicated and why that's not a perfect measure is because both of those things are weighted a little bit differently. Obviously, it has a little bit higher emphasis on offense. And the other thing that's that's tricky about WAR, wins above replacement, is it is cumulative based, meaning the more that you play, the more that you have a chance to either earn or decrease, which means that Michael Conforto, if he was having a decent season, which he has not been having a decent season, so his numbers are dropped down. If he was having a decent season, his WAR might be greater than a player like an Alex Call, if for the only reason that he's gotten more playing time. So that becomes a little bit different, which means that you kind of have to dig into it a little bit separately and make your own judgment as far as what the trade-off, what is the difference between.
So this isn't a decision based on analytics. Player. This is the decision based on just the eyeball test of what the Dodgers want to do with this situation.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say you can't use just one statistic and make a determination as far as what the trade-off is between the two.
So what statistics suggest to continue to play Michael Conforto, even though Alex Call got 4 hits last night, and he's a better defender, and he's better bat to ball? What statistic would lean that way?
I'm not necessarily saying that there's a statistic that says play Michael Conforto over Alex Call in this specific game. What I'm saying with that, so that's a little bit two separate arguments. So the balance between offense and defense, you have to look at the statistics, look at what the difference between the two players in offense is, as well as the difference with defensive players. And that's when you have to use statistics like WRC plus, good comparison between the two. And specifically against the type of pitcher that they are going up against. I think with the matchup during the game today, part of the rationale is to continue to get Michael Conforto plate appearances, because if they are going down the path to where it is likely that Michael Conforto is going to be on this team in some sort of role for the rest of the season, they're going to have to continue to get him plate appearances at some point in order to try to help build up his confidence. Now, it has not really worked to this point in the season, and you can have a lot of criticisms about the Dodgers keeping around Michael Conforto to this point of the season, but they're going to have to go out there, if he's on the roster, and give him plate appearances at some point. And it could be that this is getting him plate appearances. It could be matchup based off of the type of pitcher that they're going up against and how that matches up well, or perhaps doesn't match up well with either a Michael Conforto or an Alex Call. Or this could just be one of those scenarios where it's kind of a righty versus lefty type of matchup. Now, Alex Call, during this first little bit, struggled a little bit when he started with the Dodgers, now starting to build up a little bit of confidence. How do you go about, and this is a strategy based for the Los Angeles Dodgers, how do you go about continuing to build up his confidence and put him in the best situation to be able to succeed, which could be a little bit of a situation that we saw a little bit earlier in the season with a Hae-Sung Kim. Are they going to go down that path with an Alex Call and put him in situations because they see him in his role as being that fourth outfielder / platoon outfielder with a Michael Conforto? Do they want to just put him in as many situations that they can to help him succeed as best as they can? Could be a path that I could see the Dodgers going down. Not necessarily analytics based, because Michael Conforto has struggled a little bit, but because they have Michael Conforto on the roster, they're going to have to play him. They're going to have to play Alex Call. You got to figure out a little bit of a balance of how to play them too, because Teoscar Hernandez and Ipajes are everyday players.
They absolutely are. So that situation there, here's another question too. I would be maybe some homework, because you're better at finding all the data, crunching the statistics. Who was the last player that the Dodgers gave this much run to that didn't produce?
That's a really good question.
Because like Dodgers fans, Anthony brought this up the other day on a comment, and he's exactly right. So as Dodgers fans, they just cut two underperforming veterans, two fan favorites, Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, who have both helped this organization win World Series. Okay, Michael Conforto damn sure hasn't done that. He's done nothing for this organization. And so you cut two guys that are fan favorites that have a history of producing world champions or being part of world championships, but then you give this guy that has no history. I understand it's money, but money is like water to the Dodgers since they've signed Shohei Ohtani. So who was the last guy that literally got, I mean, bad defense? At least Anthony would say at least Jason Hayward had good defense, right? At least Gavin Lux had a history in the system, and Gavin Lux had turned it around by this part in the season. So I would just like to know, where is the precedent for just handing all this playing time over to a guy like Michael Conforto, whether he produces or not? Where is the precedent for that?
It's a difficult question to answer, because I don't necessarily know what the answer is, or what the answer is to that. Because typically with the Dodgers, and this is especially with a player that's just on a 1-year contract, I think it's a little bit of a different situation.
The Dodgers
if you have multiple years.
They owe him no loyalty. Their loyalty was the 17, which is going to turn into 34 million by the time they pay the luxury tax.
Yes, and they are, when they have Michael Conforto on their roster, if they decided to release him, they're going to have to pay that money anyway to Michael Conforto. So it becomes a question of, as far as the answer, as far as whether or not they've done this, or how long of a runway do they typically give these guys, I don't necessarily know.
Well,
seems to be a little bit more of an extent.
Back as long as I can. I can't think of anybody who had this amount of run that was this subpar both defensively and offensively. I can't think of anybody. Maybe somebody else can, but I can't.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody on the top of my head. So just bringing into context, Michael Conforto this season, 384 plate appearances. That's the measure that I would go off of, because that gives up the number of times that he comes to the plate. So far, it's an 80 WRC plus, 190, 299 on base percentage, 326 slugging. The one thing that I'm sure that the Dodgers were betting on, which typically there is some type of regression to the mean, would be the batted ball quality, which still remains somewhat solid when you look at the overall season. A expected weighted on base average of 337, which that takes into account how hard you're actually hitting the ball. But it's one of those things where you've just seen the results on the field just not seem to match up anywhere close to all season long for the most part, except for a small stretch during the month of July, with the amount of success that he's had. And it's really difficult, especially when they have a player like Ryan Ward, who is absolutely killing it down at AAA, and they're not giving him an opportunity, which is really complicated because he's going to be a free agent, and I hope Ryan Ward reaches free agency because I think that's going to give him the best shot to be able to go out there and get a major league career underneath him,
or Korean, or Korean,
or whatever career that he wants to pursue. He absolutely deserves that. And having a player like Michael Conforto, who's struggling as much as he has, who has been a negative defensively out there in left field, makes it really complicated. This was always the risk, and this continues to be the risk of signing guys who are, especially in the corner outfield, offensive first type of players that have negatives defensively, because if they do not produce, if they do not produce offensively, they are not a great asset on the field. And this has been something that's been a little bit difficult with a player like a Teoscar Hernandez. He has to be able to produce more offensively than what he even has to this point of the season. A 105 WRC plus on the season, which means that his Fangraphs WAR for Teoscar is only at 0.5. Both of those players, the Dodgers anticipated them to have more offensive production for each one of them. And I think because they haven't gotten as much production out of both of them, thankfully they've gotten a little bit more offensive production out of Andy Pages this season. And he's been solid defensively. It has created a unit in the outfield that has been subpar for the Dodgers this season, which I'm sure is something.
If you want to win the World Series, this can't be your outfield unless Teo and Michael hit the ball substantially better than they have all year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that ultimately is the bet that the Dodgers are making, is that Teoscar Hernandez is going to hit a lot better than what he has, which he absolutely needs to hit a lot better than what he has, especially because the Dodgers need a big power right-handed hitter as part of this lineup.
His batting average is what it is. It's about what it always has been. But the slug needs to increase. Yeah.
It's the slug combined with the fact that Teoscar Hernandez has only been walking 4.3% of the time.
Right.
So so he needs to go ahead, which I anticipate Teoscar Hernandez to be a good hitter, especially when the clutch type of environments. I still have some confidence in him being able to do that. Confidence in Michael Conforto has obviously decreased from what it was at the start of the season, but there perhaps is some batted ball data that says he may be able to turn it around. And with the Dodgers outfield of where it's at right now,
that's been there since May.
It has been there since May. I'm not disagreeing with any of that whatsoever. This is the situation. This is where the Dodgers are at right now. So we'll see.
You're just trying to explain where the Dodgers are coming from. That's all you're doing right here.
Yeah, and this is how I typically think of this, as I try to think big picture.
Absolutely.
Where are things at, and how can the Dodgers go ahead and proceed going forward, and where could things go right, and what is the rationale behind the Dodgers thinking?
Yeah, you're not necessarily trying to say they're right or they've made the right decision. You're just trying to explain to them, here are the reasons likely why they are making these decisions from that perspective. And here is the part of this that Ryan Ward, first of all, I hope that they don't select his contract, and because I'm rooting for Ryan Ward at this point, because they're going to bring him up and play him about every fifth day. He's actually going to lose value. What I hope happens to Ryan Ward is this season ends, and about 30 seconds after this season ends, he says sayonara to the Dodgers, and he goes and signs over in Korea for about $1 million. That's what I really think is going to happen with Ryan Ward. And that's kind of, if I was Ryan Ward, I would choose Korea over any organization in the States at this point, because if he goes over to Korea, he's going to go immediately to the top, to the team that's in the KBO. He's not going to be in any minor league scenario.
Yeah.
If you go to another organization, if you sign a minor league contract with another organization, which is what he's going to have to do, then he's going to have to go through this whole thing again with them. So the best case scenario for Ryan Ward himself as a player is to continue to play this season out, continue to hit. He has 111 RBIs, 33 home runs. He leads the PCL in both of those categories. Continue to do that. Let the season finish and go sign for $700,000-$800,000 and go play for Korea somewhere. That's what's going to happen to Ryan Ward, and that's the best case scenario for him.
Yep, and he absolutely deserves that. So regardless of what happens the rest of the season, I hope, and this is from a Ryan Ward perspective, that he's not with the Dodgers organization after this season, because he deserves to be somewhere that actually gets him some playing time, and I think that's going to be somewhere else than LA, whether that's another major league organization, whether that's in Korea, regardless of where that is, he deserves an opportunity. He's been absolutely phenomenal for this season. He's been an absolute joy to be able to watch in the system, but he deserves an opportunity, and I hope he gets that somewhere.
Hey, Mr. Classic is asking if I'm farming today. As a matter of fact, if I could move my camera around, you'd see I'm on the farm. Okay, my wife and I, my beautiful bride of 36 years, we are actually sitting in the middle of a pasture right now. That's why I have a different microphone, different earbuds. We are what's called high-tech rednecks. So no, we aren't necessarily farming today, but we are at the farm, which is interesting that Mr. Classic said that. So here's the biggest part of the Michael Conforto deal before we move on that really, really, really just eats at me. One is Ryan Ward, but I explained that. I'm actually happy that Ryan Ward hadn't got called up yet because he's going to get paid as soon as this season's over, and it's not going to be by a major league team, I don't think. Okay, because I don't think any team. So if you're Ryan Ward, Austin, give me a yes or no here. Do you sign a minor league contract with somebody in the States, or do you sign a major league contract in the KBO? If you're Ryan Ward, which one do you do?
Which one presents the better opportunity?
Absolutely.
So
the KBO contract's going to be worth $500,000, way more than a minor league, more than that. So I'm actually content with the Ryan Ward situation. The situation that kind of has me, I really thought the Dodgers would do a better job finding creative ways to get Dalton Rushing at bats. I mean, the Michael Conforto thing, he's not good on defense and he's not good on offense. Then why not just take that time to see if we can get Dalton Rushing adequate in left field?
Yeah, it's difficult because you would have anticipated that the Dodgers, if they were to do that, would have actually given them some time to be able to do so at the minor league level more than what they actually did. Now they have to be creative and how they actually implement. If Dalton Rushing and his future within is going to be within the organization, they have to give him more playing time than what they have right now, and they can't really take away a lot of playing time from Will Smith, which means they have to find some sort of alternative either for Will Smith, which is unlikely, or for Dalton Rushing in order to find some additional playing time to be able to get him out on the field. And you would anticipate that the outfield could be one of those avenues of what they go, although the difficulty of that is I would probably anticipate the Dodgers probably to go out and try to pursue an additional outfielders at some point during the offseason, because that would fill in the role with Michael Conforto. And the difficulty with that is that would eliminate one of the avenues for Dalton Rushing to be able to get additional playing time as well. The conundrum with Dalton Rushing is that he has seemingly helped Will Smith offensively at least stay healthy to this point of the season. Does that have to be Dalton Rushing, or is the ceiling with Dalton Rushing just to make Will Smith better? No, I think the ceiling with Dalton Rushing is to be a significant force on the offensive side of the field, and I think he can prove himself with consistent regular playing time. The trick is, I don't know if the Dodgers have an opportunity to be able to give him that consistent regular playing time. So
would he have been worse than Michael Conforto in left field when you combine the offense and defense? I say no.
I don't know necessarily, because I have not had a chance to be able to see a whole lot of defense with Dalton Rushing out there. I know he played a little bit for about a month in Oklahoma City, but there's a little bit of a difference, even though it is a lot of time, between a month in Oklahoma City and a lot of years with Michael Conforto in the outfield. Not saying Michael Conforto is great, but he also has a lot of playing time out there. And it's difficult because we also haven't seen Dalton Rushing get a lot of consistent regular plate apperances, which I think certainly can help.
Player unless you get those. When you're trying to break into the major leagues to begin with, and then you're getting inconsistent at bats, you can't even judge those at bats because it's so hard to do at that point.
Yeah, so that becomes a lot more difficult to be able to do. So I certainly could see the argument of trying to find Dalton Rushing those regular plate appearances, and that could be an avenue that they decide to pursue. I just don't anticipate that being, at least for this year. I think for next year, that could be an option that they decide to go down, and I think they have to figure out something with Dalton Rushing. Otherwise, it's starting to look like, okay, is he just a backup catcher for the rest of his career, or at least the rest of his tenure with the Dodgers? Or are we going to lose significant value with keeping him on the roster, whereas trying to find perhaps a different replacement as a backup catcher for the role that Dalton Rushing is pursuing and get him an opportunity perhaps elsewhere? Those are going to be very difficult conversations that you can't really have right now, at least in the avenue of what exactly is the future with Dalton Rushing. I just don't anticipate them, because they haven't done so to this point in the season, making that swerve at this point right now. But that could be something that could be pursued perhaps in the offseason if they give him ample time to be able to get some runway with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of when I say you can't really evaluate Dalton Rushing because he's getting inconsistent at bats, you can definitely evaluate him whether or not you think he's going to he has the ability to be a factor for the postseason this year. You can say, well, he hasn't handled the role the way that we wanted to. He's not hitting like we hoped we would, even in the limited at bats. So that means this year in the postseason, he's not going to help this team. But I don't think you can evaluate him as an overall, well, this is the offensive player that Dalton Rushing is going to be as a career player in the major leagues based off the role he's had this year. So I think there's a difference between, the micro and the macro. On a micro sense, I think it's fair to say, well, we can't trust him in the playoffs this year because we just don't have enough of a successful track record to do so. But in the macro, I think you can say, well, we know he's going to be good enough to where he is going to be a good major league hitter. Does that make sense? Did I explain that properly?
Yeah, it's exactly correct. It says exactly correct. And I was looking at a little bit this earlier, some of the numbers actually for Michael Busch when he was in his first season with the Dodgers and the batted ball quality. It's very similar to a lot of the stuff that we're seeing from a Dalton Rushing or from an Alex Freeland as far as the ex-WOBA for both of them as far as the quality of contact. Be patient with a lot of these guys. It takes time to be able to do so, but it also takes an effort in order to get them to that point in sacrificing playing time for them, not sacrificing so they don't play, but sacrificing so that they do continue to play and continue to get regular reps at the big league level in order to get them to the level to where they become consistent regular MLB players, which not every single one of these players will, not every single one of these prospects will come up and become regular big leaguers, but you also have to give them a chance to be able to find that, especially with the players that you want them to be a mainstay future part of this club. And I think 100%. Dalton Rushing with his athletic, with his competitiveness, with just a fight that he has, and with what we saw each and every single time he was at the minor league level, where he was consistently a 40% above league average hitter at each and every single stop. I think once he's able to figure out and put all these pieces together, he's going to be an absolute force, and Dodgers fans are going to absolutely love Dalton Rushing on the field.
Yeah, so David has a comment of he wants me to speak into the microphone. Well, I'm on a different microphone. I'm at the farm today. We're in the middle of nowhere, and so I have all different settings, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what gain to put it on to where it doesn't just because I have a tendency like to get really loud then really quiet. So like when I get really loud, it just blow your ass off, but then whenever I'm quiet enough, you can still hear me. So David, that would be the reason there that I sound different today, not quite as loud, would be for those reasons. Okay, I don't know how much time you have left, Austin, but dive into Alex Freeland and what type of offensive player you think that he's shown that he is going to be at the major league level.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with Alex Freeland, and this is the thing when coming up to the minor league level, to know about Alex Freeland, he's an incredibly patient hitter. And this comes especially with the amount of times that he's going up there and swinging the bat. He's somebody that swings the bat sub 40% of the time, or
which is
just
also why he strikes out
of the
some,
time.
because he gets the 2 strikes a lot. Yeah.
Yes, he is very confident in his ability to go out there and wait out pitches, which means that you're going to have a little bit of elevated walks, but and you're going to have that approach that going out there and wait out some of the pitches. But there's going to be times where he's going to have to battle, and I think the transition with Alex Freeland, and this is in part the transition with Dalton Rushing, because he had similar-ish tendencies, meaning that he wasn't an aggressive swinger like we've seen from an Andy Pages, but he was a little bit more patient in comparison to a lot of other hitters. That is a great approach to be able to have, and a necessary approach in order to get a good baseline. But what do you do during those times when you have to battle with 2 strikes and all of a sudden the pitchers are executing at a much higher degree, and there's a lot less mistakes and stuff that pitchers are going out there and giving you? I think that's a battle that Alex Freeland is going, and I think with him, the upside with him, one, we've seen a lot of good plays, and I think we've seen him transition to different positions that he hasn't played quite as much at the minor league level. I think he's been totally fine at the second base position. I think he's played decent third base. He can play a shortstop naturally. That's his natural position as well, which that versatility is incredibly valuable on the field. Offensively, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a little bit of adjustment to get used to that big league pitching, to combine the approach that he had, which is just a much more of a patient approach, with the ability to go out there and execute to big league pitching. Once he's able to make that once he's able to adapt to that, he can get a lot of gap-to-gap power. He can line it to the opposite side and do a lot of really good things. But it is an adjustment curve for Alex Freeland, in particular to the fact that doesn't necessarily swing a whole lot, which means that at the big league level, there's going to be times where big league pitchers are going to have 2 strike counts and they're going to get a little bit of swing and miss with Alex Freeland. Overall, I think that a lot of these are really good learning curves for him to be able to go over, and I hope that he continues to go out there and get regular at-bats, continue to adjust to big league pitching. He has a solid track record at the minor league level to where he can go out, especially the past 2 years, and even the year before that in 23 with Great Lakes, round league average. I think he's going to be able to adjust and adapt, and especially with his defensive versatility that he has, I think he can go out there and be a solid hitter.
So is he a placeholder till the Dodgers get all their health back, or is he a guy that has the opportunity here to play well enough to where he can get in the trust tree and maybe be a part of the playoffs?
I think he potentially has the opportunity. Here's the tricky thing with Alex Freeland is, and I don't necessarily know when exactly the date is because he was selected and then added to the roster. One of the things that they're probably going to be conscious of is when do they send him back down and try to avoid using one of his option years on this year. I think that's going to be of heavy consideration for the Dodgers, if at all possible, because what the Dodgers would prefer not to happen is the Dodgers to send Alex Freeland down, utilize one of his option years for a week, maybe 2 weeks of the minor league baseball, and then lose that ability for him. So I would anticipate probably for a good chunk, especially with guys being out, especially with Max Muncy and Tommy Edman being out, Hae-Sung Kim as well, anticipate Alex Freeland to be part of this roster at least for a little bit so that they can have the roster flexibility for that and they can continue to go and develop him and see where they're at, because they're going to have to make some choices. Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez are free agents at the end of the season. Could Alex Freeland be one of those guys to be able to step up and be a main contributor for the Los Angeles Dodgers and be on the big league roster, or at least fight for a big league opportunity going into the 2026 season?
Yeah, so what Austin's saying here is that once you select a contract, so until you select a contract, they can be in the minor leagues, and after 6 years, they become a free agent. So then they can either be a free agent or they can sign with you or they can sign with whoever. But after 6 years, they either become a free agent or you have to pick them up on a major league contract. So a player's option years do not start until you actually select their contract. Once you select their contract, then they have 3 option years. But if you don't send Alex Freeland back down, that wouldn't be an option year because they didn't send him back down after they selected his contract. So that's a great point there. How about this last point? I'm sure you have to go here. The Dodgers, they got Kevin Biggio last year. They got Buddy Kennedy this year. Why not Nick Senzel, who has major league experience, who's been hitting the ball very well for Oklahoma City, or just not, hey, Alex, you're an everyday third baseman. Go do it, dude. I mean, why Buddy Kennedy?
No idea. And this has been a frustration because the only reason why is because Buddy Kennedy has a little bit more major league experience. That's not a good reason. I don't know exactly comparing both of them. And I don't necessarily know the rationale behind it. It could create a little bit, and this is just very, very small explanation. I'm not saying this is a good reason. There could be ramifications potentially that could happen at the minor league level, although I don't think that's necessarily a good reason why that should affect the major league club, because the major league club should be the focus of what you're trying to build right there. I wish they would give more opportunity to some of the guys that have earned it, that have been part of the system, that have been part of the organization, even if it's just for several months, like guys like Nick Senzel, who joined the organization, I believe, during the offseason. I wish they would give him more opportunities, especially if they're having some additional success. And
Senzel has almost 1,500 major league at-bats. Buddy Kennedy does not even have 150 major league at-bats.
Well, there you go. There's not a difference. So I don't necessarily know the rationale behind it, besides it being this player was put on waivers, we can do that, and then we can release him right afterwards, which with Nick Senzel, I don't necessarily know the path or for him to be able to do so. That probably could have been something, or it could just be something that they see within the profile. I don't know defensively what the difference between the two players is. I just wish that they would probably give more opportunities for the minor league players to be able to come up that have been part of this organization, at least give them a chance, even if it's just for the role that they are going to give Buddy Kennedy while some of the players are at. That would at least give some of these players at least an opportunity to be able to get out and get some experience.
It was great to see the offense bounce back last night. They scored throughout the game. They didn't just score early and then die. They scored throughout the game.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. That's exactly what you want to see, and that's exactly what the Dodgers should expect when they're going up. I know it's Colorado, and I know things can get a little bit weird in Colorado, but that is what you expect from this Los Angeles Dodgers team, from the Dodgers offense, is going out there, scoring a lot, and going out there, not just one inning, but just putting up good innings throughout the entire game. I think that's something that you want to see from the offense, because they're going to have to put up not just one good inning when they go up and face good teams. They're going to have to put up consistent fights throughout the entire game. And so I think that was a really good sign. Let's hope that it continues over the course of the next 2 days before they enter the series back in San Diego to face against the San Diego Padres.
Absolutely. You got to get, don't you, Austin?
Yeah, I got to get going. I got to get to the softball game that I have. So hopefully we can turn it around tonight for the City Softball League teams that I've got. It's a makeup game for right now.
Are you in a slump? Do you need some hitting advice?
Oh, no, I'm totally fine hitting.
Use the big part of the field, Austin. If you've watched Down the Farm at all, use the big part of the field, brother.
You know what, Casey, I will take you up on that.
Okay, Austin, man, we don't get to catch up enough in the regular season. Usually, we get to do it about 3 times a week in the off season, but we have not been able to do this, and I'm just too busy a schedule. So it's always a joy to get to talk to you, Austin. Thank you, man.
Casey, appreciate you. There's about 2.5 weeks left of the Loons regular season. They're in a playoff chase right now, so I'll be following along with that, going to some of the games. Not the games this week. I won't be able to go out to Iowa, but when they're back home in Midland and then to Lake County, the big series against the Lake County Captains. Hopefully turns into a series.
Lake County's in first, right?
They are technically in a spot for a playoff. So I'm not a huge fan of Lake County, so I really hope that we're able to beat them. What was that?
You don't like the toilets that they have in the stands?
Yeah. There's a lot of things not super huge fans of. So if there's one team that I want to see the Loons beat this year, it's Lake County.
Austin, 10-degree line drives right over the pitcher's head all night long, baby.
You got it.
Okay, man. We'll see you. Hey, and for all you Dodgers dogs out there, don't go away. Let's take a trip down the farm. Welcome to Dodgers Daily Down the Farm. So glad you decided to stick around for all of the action down in the Dodgers minor league system. Of course, who you're seeing right here is Kirby Yates. He is not a prospect, but he is in rehab in AAA Oklahoma City. He threw last night, so did Tanner Scott. We're going to get to Tanner Scott's video, and also Bobby Miller, Nick Frost. So it was a star-studded night last night for AAA Oklahoma City in Tacoma. As far as Kirby Yates, the fastball was okay, but he did not, you see right there, he did not land a splitter. He threw 8 split-finger fastballs, did not throw any of them in zone, although he did get a couple of swings. But he did throw a scoreless inning, 1 inning pitch for Kirby Yates, no hits, no runs, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 92-93 on the fastball for Kirby Yates. And so, again, 8 splitters, none of them landed in the zone, although he did get 2 swings last night on that splitter. So probably moving forward, if you want to look for signs in terms of Kirby Yates, is he ready to come up and help the Dodgers? I think you're probably going to need to see that splitter land in zone more. Plus, we already know that just overall, when he has put it in the zone this year, it has gotten hit harder than it has in the past. So I think that's something to look out for Kirby Yates, is can he get better with that split finger fastball? Because again, the fastball is only 92-93 right now. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. Bobby Miller, it was a crazy night for him. Hey, one thing about Bobby, well, not one thing, really the main thing about Bobby Miller is that he's always had the high ceiling. We know he throws 100 miles an hour. He has 4 to 5, maybe sometimes 6 different pitches, depending on how he cuts any one particular pitch in half or maybe even into thirds, like makes a slider into a cutter and then also a sweeper. So that's 1 pitch that you make into 3, something like that. So Bobby Miller, a big mix. So we know with the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, when he's executing, He has a very high ceiling. He can dominate hitters, no doubt about it. But what you're seeing right here is that really last night was kind of an indication of how he's matured. So the first 3 hitters were a complete cluster. He gave up a leadoff walk, then he gave up a hit, and then you just saw the error by Gauthier there a second ago. So the first 3 guys got on, and then he threw a wild pitch, and you look up and he had no outs. He had runners at second and third, and the Tacoma Rainiers had already scored a run. And so it was really just kind of a cluster at that point. And in the past, one of the big things that's happened to Bobby Miller is that once that snowball starts rolling downhill, he hasn't been able to stop it. You know, you look at his past starts, and it's been like 3-4 really good innings. Then you have that one inning where it just blows up and he gives up 5 or 6 runs. So he had second, third, no outs, had already given up a run. It was a cluster at that point. And what did Bobby Miller do? He struck out the next 2 guys, gave up that fly ball right there, and got out of the inning, giving up just 1 run. So yes, the 1 run, the 1 walk, the 1 hit, not all great. But in some ways, you could look at last night's performance for Bobby Miller in a way that could convince you that he's actually more ready than he ever has been, because he did deal with the blow-up inning. And instead of actually letting it blow up, he actually got through it and buckled down and showed some maturity. And so what he did was he raised his floor. And I assure you, like we said, we know the ceiling is very high for Bobby Miller. What we didn't know is how high you can get the floor. Raising your floor can get you in that trust tree just as fast as having a very high ceiling as well. Tanner Scott also threw for AAA Oklahoma City last night. He threw a scoreless inning, 96-98 on his fastball. Check this out. The spin rate on his fastball touched 2,800 RPMs, almost 2,800 RPMs. Almost 2,800 RPMs on the top end for the spin rate. That's insane. And then it averaged right at 2,700. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous on a 96, 97, 98 on our fastball with that kind of spin on it. The slider had over 2,800 RPMs. And so from a metrical perspective, Tanner Scott is as elite as you could possibly get as a pitcher and certainly as a reliever. So probably could have been better as far as throwing strikes in the zone, but kind of like Kirby Yates, he also got some swing on some balls out of the zone. So the overall strike throwing was a little bit over 60%, although the end zone rate wasn't quite as good as you would like. The four seam was in zone just 45%. Slider was in zone just 20%, but yet he threw 16 strikes out of 26. He threw 10 strikes out of 16 pitches. And so the overall strike throwing was better than what he actually was in the zone. So, when you have that kind of ridiculous, just metrical type of stuff that you're throwing to home plate, you have a lot of margin for error, but I would like to see the strike throwing as far as end zone get a little bit better for Tanner Scott before he comes up to LA. But metrically, he is just off the chart. So Noah Miller, shortstop, who is just such a great defender, hit a home run last night for AAA Oklahoma City. And it's good to see because, he had a good year. Yeah, he was above a league average player for AA Tulsa. When he got to Oklahoma City last month, he got hot, and then he kind of really cooled down. So it's good to see him get 3 hits last night and pick things back up for AAA Oklahoma City and get things going, because he is such just a tremendous defender. I say this all the time about Noah Miller. If he can just be a league average offensive player, he will be somebody that is very, very, very valuable, because his defense is way, way, way above average. His defense is actually so good, it could be considered a carrying tool, meaning a tool that even if the offense isn't great, his defense is good enough where it can carry him to the major leagues and carry him into being a productive player. So good to see Noah Miller get the stick going. Another thing that's good to see, Esteury Ruiz. Now, Esteury Ruiz is very fast. He has all the stolen bases. But I mentioned the reason why I think he got brought back down is because he swings up. He's a guy that's really fast. He relies on speed, but he swings and misses too much because he's trying to hit home runs and swinging up at it. So it's not just the results. He had 4 hits last night, a couple of stolen bases. A huge night for AAA Oklahoma City. Esteury Ruiz has been playing great offense, but it's beyond just those results. Look at these hits. Hard ground balls up the middle, balls that he's letting get deep right there. He's kind of swinging through the ball. He's not swinging up at it. and he's letting the ball get deep and hitting the ball to the opposite field. So if Asturi Ruiz decides to be that type of offensive player right there, where he's just shooting the ball the other way, he's hitting hard ground balls, low line drives, and just beating the ball out and using his speed, creating a speed profile as an offensive player, this is a guy that could be a very, very, very good player. He's in the process of kind of redefining himself from those terms and being that type of offensive player. So it's very exciting to see him, talking about Asturi Ruiz, use that type of speed for AAA Oklahoma City, especially last night. So, hey, talk about speed. Kendall George, man. Kendall George last night, he did something and I'm not sure I've ever seen before, and that is he got 3 infield hits, all to different infielders. He had an infield hit that was hit to the second baseman, he had an infield hit that was hit to the shortstop, and then he had an infield base hit that was hit to the third baseman. And I actually have them all timed. I can't find the video right here. I'm looking for it. If I find it, I will eventually put it up on the board. But as I look through here, I'm having a hard time finding the actual video from last night. But 3 different infield hits, and he was 3-6-1. He registered at 3-6-1 to first base last night. 3-6-1 is just absolutely crazy, insane fast. He did have 2 stolen bases last night. He has now 83 stolen bases on the year, does Kendall George. He did get caught a couple of times, and he's gotten caught 20 times on the year. So even with 83 steals on the year, there is still even more out there for Kendall George to accomplish. So what great speed for Kendall George, 3-6-1 to first base. Wanted to show you that speed. And then here is Charles Davalan, who made his debut last night in the Dodgers system for Rancho Cucamonga, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and it was a lot of fun to see. 2 hits for Charles Davalan in his first outing for Rancho Cucamonga, so that was a lot of fun to watch. And so he is on the board. He is playing for Rancho Cucamonga. Keep an eye on him. And another young man down at the Rancho Cucamonga level that is playing great offense right now. We talked about him in our last time out. That is Emil Morales. Emil Morales hit a home run last night. He has just been playing great offense. Hit a home run number 4 last night for Rancho, 2 hits in total, 2 RBIs. He walked once. He also scored twice and raised his batting average with the Quakes to 329, OPS 999. Morales has hits in 5 games in a row and in 9 of his last 10 and in 14 of his last 16. So this is an extended period of time where Emil Morales is playing very good offense. And he also has 7 multi-hit games just this month and is hitting 377 so far in August. So that's going to do it for today's Down the Farm. I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, remind you it's a great day to be a Dodger. I think we got it squared away there. We got Bruce on the line here. We're going to get to him here in just a second, but I had to get back to this scene first. Again, I'm on a different setup. So let me see if I can get Bruce in here. I sure hope I can get to him here. Admit him right there. Let me get back to the last scene. He's actually going to say that he is Austin. Just know that he isn't, because I'm on a entirely different setup. And so let me get to Bruce here, and let's. And okay, there we go. Actually, we're talking now. So, okay, Bruce, tell us what's on your mind, man.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking earlier while you were talking with Austin. Okay, right now, as defensive, when it comes to defense, I think that Dean probably is our best defensive center field outfielder right now. I know Call has been kind of up and down. I know that he's done good, but I get it. We're in a playoff race. Man, when you're playing against the Rockies, we're playing against the team, and nothing against these teams, or Arizona. I want this kid to be out there. Like, what's the point of the kid just to sit on the bench and wait until the ninth inning to come out and run? Like,
yeah, right.
I'm not the coach. Why not? Why can't we do something? Why can't we let this kid go out and do it? We're playing against the Rockies. If we win, we win. If we lose because of some stupid plays, okay, we lose.
Yeah,
but we're spoiled as Dodger fans.
Yeah.
We've won this in so many years.
Yeah. Yeah, but we are Dodgers fans, and we expect to be world champions. We expect to be the best team in baseball. We expect all that. That is an absolute fact, right?
Now, but I still believe they can win. I get frustrated just as well as you do. And Casey, I appreciate when you and Austin are talking together, or whoever, you and both coaches, okay, you are giving like what we would say as fans. Why are we keeping Conforto? Why did we cut Taylor instead of Conforto? Like, it doesn't matter now. But I believe they can win. Leave the guys down there, Kirby Yates, leave Tanner Scott down there until these guys are right.
Right.
These guys we have in the bullpen have proven themselves. And anybody that says they haven't, you're wrong. They have proven themselves. I believe they can still do things. They've pitched a lot. So why can't we stick with the guys we have right now? All right? If we're going to win this, we're going to win it with Tanner Scott and them. But they right now are a liability right now. We don't want them to get hurt.
Because of injury,
so let these guys go until October. Bring the guys back up, and let's go for it.
I think October's too long. I think September is. I think maybe even next week.
Okay, next week.
I mean, Tanner Scott was throwing 98 miles an hour with 2,800 RPMs on his fastball. He's not that injured.
Okay, so Tanner Scott should be up in right now too. What about
not necessarily right now, but soon, way before October. Yeah.
Let me ask you point blank, Casey. What is your best bullpen right now? If we're going into the playoffs, what's your best bullpen?
If everybody is pitching to their best capability.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Blake Trinan gets the 8th inning, and then Tanner Scott gets the 9th inning, and then Alex Vesia gets the 7th inning. Then you have guys like Kirby Yates and Anthony Bonda and Jack Dreyer and Ben Kasparius that just kind of roam around depending on who's available that night, whether they're in the A team or B team part of the bullpen. If everybody's pitching to their capabilities.
I agree. That would be mine. I just the thing I worry about, Casey, and it's nothing against these guys. We paid $72 million for Tanner.
Right.
He has not been up to par.
Right.
Fans. Me, I'm a little different. To give a guy a chance. All right. He had a good year last year. He had a good year. Do we not think people can have a bad year one year? Of course they can. But what happens if Tanner Scott goes into October and this guy is literally throwing 99 to 100 mile an hour fastballs and striking out Machado,
which is very
Tatis,
which is very possible. Same thing Walker Buehler did last year.
And I would use anybody, and I hope Kershaw gets to be in the playoff. I don't know where he stands, obviously, but I hope he's in it, even if it's just a long relief. If he's cool with that, but that's just what I would do. But I'm not the manager. I'm just a fan. Sure. I'm just an ordinary guy.
We all are. That's what makes the world go around. Is we all have different opinions and we all get to express it. Right?
But you're the coach. And you've been doing this a long time, Casey. So we have to come to guys like you with the experience. We've got to ask the question.
I have not been.
We want these.
Nowhere as close to what Dave Roberts is having to do every day, though.
Listen, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in Dave Roberts. You are a coach. Right. You will be a coach for the rest of your life, sir.
True that. Bruce, man, I always appreciate you, man. See you, brother. Okay. All right. So there is Bruce Davis. Thank you so much for joining there. And again, all of the optics and all this, it's going to be ugly. I'm on a whole different setup. So thank you so much for Bruce for joining in there. Hey, I like Vesia as a fireman. Any inning that is high leverage could be bases loaded in the 6th inning. Other fan bases bleed for their teams. Dodgers fandom is just another empty LA brand, shallow, insecure. Yeah, well, I would disagree with that, Evan. Tanner Scott struck out Shohei last postseason. He was very good. Yes, we are very passionate fans. I would put Dodgers fans up there with any of them in the world. So, okay, this has been a very difficult show for me just simply because it's been in a different location, and it's been a situation to where I haven't had all my normal stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Down the Farm segment. And as always, I want to remind you that it's a great day to be a dog.